Good day and welcome to EcoView, the show that explores the environmental challenges shaping our world and also our lives. My name is Paul, and today we'll be diving into another problem that affects every single one of us, whether we see it or not. It's the air that we breathe. Imagine stepping outside on a typical morning in a busy city. The sun rises, but the sky isn't clear enough. Instead, a thick haze lingers, mixed with dust, smoke, and also fumes. People coughing, covering their mouths, as well as vehicles rolling past the haze. Isn't that an eyesore? It's a silent threat, but yet it's around us. Did you know that 99% of the world's population breathes air that exceed the limits set by the World Health Organization, WHO? And every single year, around 7 million people
it lurks
die
all around us,
prematurely
preying on the
because of
young
it.
and old.
Today we
It
explore
slips
what air
unnoticed
pollution
past your
really is
defenses
all
and
about,
assaults your lungs,
why it
heart,
matters,
and brain.
and what we can
It's
do
deadly
about
as well.
it. We'll go on a quick break now. Once we return, we'll dive into this topic, air pollution, the silent threat. So, what exactly is air pollution? At its core, it is the presence of harmful substances in the air that we breathe. These particles might be as tiny as possible, and some of them are even called PM 2.5 and PM 10.
Its deadliest
gases
weapons are invisible.
like nitrogen
Poisonous
oxide,
particles that can be
sulfur
as small
dioxide,
as a
and also
molecule.
carbon monoxide, which
With
is
every
the
breath,
most
they
popular
break through
among
your
them.
lungs' protective barriers.
Some
There,
come from
they trigger
factories,
inflammation
some come
as
from
your system
vehicles, and
tries
also
desperately to fight
others
back.
from power plants.
But these tiny intruders
However,
penetrate those
others come
defenses,
from everyday
lodging
sources
toxic
such as
compounds
burning
even
trash,
deeper,
cooking
sowing the
with
seeds of
charcoal,
cancer.
or even cooking
They
with
slide
firewood.
straight into your bloodstream,
And also,
sabotaging your
and
entire
most
body.
especially during dust.
They inflame and
and
constrict your
in the
blood
dry
vessels,
season.
increasing
Air
blood
pollution
pressure
isn't just
until
about an
one
outdoor
day,
problem.
causing a
It is
stroke.
indoor. Poor ventilation, smoking,
The
smoke
particle
from
prowlers
cocaine
dislodge
gases,
fatty plaque that may
and
have
also,
built up from your diet. They
even
leave
mold
clots that can be deadly
affect the
blockers of blood
quality
flow
of
to
our
your
air
heart
in our
or
homes.
brain.
And in cities
With
such
each
as
new case
Lagos,
of heart-
Cairo, Johannesburg, and also Paris, the mix of traffic fumes, industrial emissions, and also dust storms makes the air particularly dangerous. Think about it as you commute today, or probably as you have commuted throughout the week. Every single minute in every traffic, every vehicle around you, every generator running nearby, every plastic or waste fire that contributes all of these tiny particles that we can't even see. But guess what? Your lungs sees them. And over time, these
Attack,
invisible
stroke,
particles
lung
become
disease,
very
or cancer.
accumulated
Air
and
pollution
can
adds
cause
another
real
life
damage.
to its hit list.
So
Let's
now
stop
let's
this
look at the
invisible
health
killer.
impacts of all of these things. The effects of air pollution on our health are very staggering. Long-term exposure can lead to respiratory disease such like asthma, chronic bronchitis, cardiovascular problems, and even in some cases, lung cancer. While short-term exposure could trigger
It
things
slips
like
unnoticed
cough,
past your
irritation,
defenses and assaults
and also
your lungs,
worsen
heart, and
existing
brain.
health condition. And
Its
guess
deadliest
what?
weapons are
Our
invisible.
children and also the elderly
Poisonous
and
particles
also
that can
outdoor
be as
workers
small as a
are
molecule.
particularly vulnerable. In
With
fact,
every breath,
in
they break through your
Africa,
lungs'
in
protective
African cities
barriers.
with high
There, they trigger
high pollution
as your
levels,
system tries desperately
respiratory
to fight
disease
back.
among children are
But these tiny
significantly
intruders
higher
penetrate.
than in rural areas with cleaner air. So let's put this thing into perspective. What this means is that every year, millions of premature deaths worldwide are linked directly to polluted air. And these aren't just numbers. We're talking about mothers, fathers, children, even neighbors. They are our community. And the cost isn't just human's life. It has its own impact on economic as well. So we're talking about loss of productivity due to diseases, increased health bills, just because you have to go to the clinic and treat yourself, and also communities struggling to cope with preventable illnesses. Yes, most of these illnesses are very preventable. So after the break, we'll be looking at some news making stories from all around the world. And here are the headlines quickly. First, the story from the UN, which says that climate change-driven wildfire increase air pollution across the globe. And also we'll bring to you about how cutting US air pollution could save about 6,000 lives a year by 2030. And now bringing home, we'll be talking about Lagos as they evolve measures to tackle public health risk as emission increases. We'll go on a break now and we'll be right back. So just before the break, I mentioned that we'll be taking a look at stories from around the world that are making rounds. So now let's turn our attention to recent developments and also highlight the growing intersection of climate change and also air pollution. According to a report released on September 5, 2025 by the United Nations World Meteorological Organization, WMO, wildfire intensified by climate change are significantly contributing to global air pollution. These fires release a rich brew of pollutants, including fine particulate matter such as PM 2.5, which can degrade air quality even in continents. The WMO Fifth Annual Air Quality and also Climate Bulletin notes that wildfire in regions such as the Amazon, Canada's Siberia, and also Central Africa have led to the above average PM 2.5 levels. Notably, the most significant surge occurred in the Amazon basin. These particles less than 2.5 microcentimeter in diameter can penetrate deep into our lungs and also cardiovascular system, posing serious health risk. The WMO warns that as climate change continues to exacerbate conditions to wildfire, the frequency and also intensity of this event have their impact on air quality, and also they're expected to increase. The WMO reports enhances the need to integrate action to address both air quality and also climate change simultaneously. The Deputy Secretary General Kobarat said that climate change and air quality cannot be addressed in isolation. They must be tackled together in order to protect our planet and our communities and also our economy. The development underscores the urgent need for comprehensive environmental policies and individual actions to mitigate the effects of air pollution and climate change. This is a very interesting news here from the United Nations, where we're seeing, over the years, especially this year, we've seen a number of wildfires. And usually, one of the things that all of this wildfire leaves behind are particles such as the PM 2.5. And we're talking about in Canada, in the US, Central Africa, in some places in Central Africa, in some places as well in South America. It's really sad to see all of these things happen in the real sense. I think we'll move on now to the next story, which is on a study from Princeton University, as reported in The Guardian on September 5, which shows that efforts to reduce fossil fuel used in the US could prevent around 6,000 premature deaths each year by 2030. The research warns that if no action is taken, air pollution deaths could increase by nearly 13,000 in 2030 compared to what it was in 2015, sorry. Due to a growing need and also aging population that is more vulnerable to polluted air, states like West Virginia and also Kentucky could see deaths from particle pollution drop by 19% if ambitious climate policies are implemented. Measures such as expanding renewable energy, increasing electronic car adoption, reducing vehicle miles, and creating low-emission zones are parts of the solution. The study also highlights a critical social dimension and also talking about the racial and also ethical minorities experiencing higher exposure and health burdens from air pollution, particularly in areas linked to fossil fuel production like Louisiana and also Texas. This is a clear example of how climate action isn't just about the environment. It's about saving life, reducing health inequality, and also creating cleaner and also safer communities. I mean, a lot has been said as regards what exactly, the amount of deaths that air pollution causes year in, year out. And we're seeing that we could have the total of deaths in the US, for example, to increase to about nearly 13,000, and that's a very large number. And I do understand as well that it's a global issue. It's not just about the US. It's about Africa. It's about Nigeria. It's about your home. It's about you. It's about me. So basically, it's just talking about how we all have to put all of our hands on deck to ensure that we have things in place to prevent, because all of these deaths are very preventable if we just try to create a more cleaner environment and a more safer environment. Now let's zoom in closer home, where we to look at a story from Lagos, one of Africa's largest and also fastest growing city, which is grappling with the rise of air pollution caused by vehicles, generators, and industrial emission. According to Babatunde Ajayi, the general manager of the Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, SEP, rapid urbanization and also industrial growth have led to the deteriorating air quality, posing serious health risk for residents. In response, the state government has implemented several measures, including emission standards for vehicles and industry, enforced through collaboration with the Ministry of Transportation and Vehicle Inspection Service. Also, monitoring and enforcement of air quality compliance, particularly in industrial facilities. Also, public education campaigns, including workshops and an affluent treatment and air abatement system, are to guide industries on safe operational procedures. Also, advocacy programs prompting cleaner energy, sustainable transport, and also green infrastructure. Despite these efforts, Lagos still faces challenges. The city has one of the highest vehicle intensity in Africa, spreading wide with generator use due to unreliable power supply and industrial emissions from factories lacking proper effluent and also air treatment system. Ajayi emphasized that tackling air pollution is a shared responsibility through policy reforms, regulatory enforcement, and community engagement. Lagos aims to improve air quality and also safeguard public health while ensuring a sustainable environment. The local perspective reminds us that while air pollution is a global problem, every city and every individual has a role to play in creating a cleaner air. I mean, it's no doubt we are facing it, and it's as close as home as it can be, as it can get at the end of the day. And I mean, Lagos has one of the highest number of vehicles that apply the road, probably as close as that of Paris as well. And that is, I mean, for example, now in Paris, for example, where we've seen now a large cut down on, in fact, in Paris, there are some streets that have already been closed down to vehicular movement, meaning that in such streets, you can't drive a car, but rather you have to walk through the street or cycle through the street, or probably use something that is not a car, probably a scooter or something through the streets. And this will actually improve health as well on the flip side. But while for a city like Lagos, this might not be possible because Lagos is as small as it can get. It's as wide as well. And, there have been stories in the news on social media as regards how Lagos is currently very much polluted. So we're expected to see some changes with all of these policy reforms, and also, most importantly, enforcement of all of these things. Is very important that we enforce these things, and it shouldn't just be just a government thing. It's a me and you thing. We all should try our best to ensure all of these things are put into place. But quickly, we'll take a look at some tweets and also see what is being said on our social media, to see what is being said on Twitter. For one, I guess we'll start off quickly with this particular one from Awake Nigeria, which says that speaking at WEF, the UN chief Antonio Guterres claims that climate crisis threatens to upend life as we know it. It continues to say that we just endured the hottest year and the hottest decade in history. And now sea levels are rising, heat waves, flood, storms, droughts, and also wildfire are just a preview of what horror movie is to come. A world where every economy feels the pain, chain supplies severed, and all of infrastructure destroyed, and of higher prices. All of these things that have been just said in this one tweet is really sad to see in the real sense, because year in, year out, we're seeing news as regards what exactly is happening, and now we understand all of these things. There was still some talk sometimes last year as regards how climate change is all a fallacy and all of that, but I think it's now it's not harder than ever before. Between last year and this year, we've seen the heat waves eat so much. I guess sometimes in February or March, was a particular news from the Nigerian meteorology, which broke down the fact that we are currently experiencing some kind of heat wave that we've not had in the last decades and things like that. Basically, what is being said is that if we don't take actions, it's expected that all of these things keep going up and up and up again, and we really don't want to have to see that happen at the end of the day. Well, globally, countries are seeing improvements with stricter emission laws, but many African cities and also air pollution continues to rise, largely unnoticed. And we are at a very critical point. These reports aren't just data; they are warnings that our air needs urgent attention, and that we every day, if we delay them, we increase the stake of our safety. We'll go on a break now. Once we return, we'll probably look into solutions of what if air pollution doesn't exist in the first place. In the real sense of things, air pollution doesn't just exist in isolation. It's closely tied with climate change. greenhouse gases, smog, urban heat island, all interact and all together they worsen temperature and also increase the stress on the environment. I mean, a popular singer here in Nigeria spoke about, using a song, spoke about how there's black suits in places like Port Harcourt, singing about how, the city is so dark and all of that, and people are breathing in black hair, basically. Well, in the real sense of things, in the real sense of things, in cities where where concentrated, where we are seeing a number of greenery scares and things like that, pollution and also its combined, creating an unhealthy living condition for people. But guess what? There's hope. Cities that invest in green spaces, promote green energy, and also improve transportation are seeing measurable improvements in both air quality and also public health. Take, for instance, Paris, that's in France. Even smaller communities are making efforts like planting trees or reducing open burning. And this, in the youth sense, can make a real difference, a very clear difference. So what can be done on a global scale? That's the question that we're asking this morning. What exactly can we do on a very global level to ensure that we all are safe at the end of the day, no matter where we are? Well, agreements like the Paris Climate Accord aims to reduce emission and also encourage cleaner energy. Innovations like electric vehicles, solar-powered homes, which are very good and also safe for the environment, and improve industrial regulation are reducing the amount of pollutants released into the air. City planning also plays a role, promoting public transport, designing pedestrian-friendly streets, just like I mentioned. Also, in Paris, I feel like Paris in this case is actually more like a case study when it comes to things like this as regards making actions, actually. Because Paris has, in fact, in places like the UK, for one, I don't understand that people will naturally just trek as well. So basically designing streets that are very pedestrian friendly, creating green belts can all drastically cut down our pollution exposure. I mean, just imagine a city where there is no pollution at all. These solutions show that air pollution isn't inevitable. If there's a problem, we can tackle it with knowledge, with policy, and also with actions. So now you might ask me the question as regards what exactly can I do as an individual or as a community? Well, we'll start very small, actually. You don't have to do too much. The very first thing is that you reduce your waste burning, you use clean cooking stoves, and also limit your generator use or possibly switch to things like solar. Also, in cases where you have friends or family or stay around you and probably you commute through the same environment, you could try things like carpool instead of taking public transport, or switch to electric vehicles where possible. Also, support local policies and also prioritize your air quality, because again, it is your health that really matters. Communities are also making a difference. I mean, in Lagos, for one, I've mentioned Paris, almost all through the show. Also in Lagos as well, we're seeing grassroots movements which are pushing for stricter emission regulation and also planting trees along congested roads. Every step counts, and air pollution is a shared problem, and the solution needs a shared effort. Because we all share the problem together, it's important that we all come together and also share the effort, distribute effort together to ensure that our quality of health is improved. Air pollution is silent, it's invisible, it is very real, and it affects our health. It affects our communities and also our future. Yet, it is very preventable by taking action individually, collectively, and at the policy level. We can breathe easier and also protect generations to come. I really want to hear from you and see your thoughts on this as regards air pollution and how air pollution is affecting your own community. What can you see in your community? And also, don't just tell me how it's affecting your community. Also tell me what steps you have taken and all of the steps that you've also seen others taking to combat it. So share your story and we might feature your story in the next future episode. My name remains Paul, and thanks very much for joining me on this episode, the very first episode of EcoView. Together, we can make our voices heard and our air cleaner. Next time, we'll explore other pressing environmental challenges. So stay tuned and remember, the air we breathe today shapes the health of tomorrow. Thanks for watching. See you next time.